Her penmanship came back. Her voice came back. Her bone density came back in her mouth. She went from 97 pounds. She now weighs about 123. We call her Rocky. She does boxing. We bought her a boxing bag recently. It's like unbelievable. The woman was like death's door before, and now she is a whole new woman.
Welcome to the QBC podcast, where we explore exciting new paradigms that have a meaningful impact on our day-to-day lives. I'm your host, Meredith Oke. Let's keep the conversation going. Join us in our free community by visiting qbcpod.com. That's qbcpod.com. And let's see where the quantum superhighway takes us next. It is so super fun to listen to all the podcasts and read all the papers and read all the books and do all the things and gain so much knowledge. It's so fun. And we have access to so much of it. The information is truly infinite at this moment in time. We are at a point where we have access to basically unlimited, infinite information on any topic under the sun that you could possibly think of. And it's amazing. I love it. I think it's really fun. I have, built an organization dedicated to helping people gain knowledge. However, I think it's important to remind everyone and to remind myself, which is truly why I'm saying this, that the universe, the world, the people in it, your future clients, your future collaborators, your future co-volunteers, they're not responding to what you know. They're not responding to what's on your resume. They're not responding to how many certifications you have. They are responding to your frequency. We all know this. I know I'm not giving you new information with that, but sometimes we forget, and sometimes life is busy or overwhelming, or there's lots going on, or we get sidetracked with something, and it feels like life is happening to us when in fact we are creating life through the frequency that we embody. And I have found one of the best ways to raise my frequency is to spend time around people, even virtually, who are really embodying it, who are really doing it. And my guest today is one of those people. Renita Brennan has more than 20 years as a health and wellness, she says educator. I would call her motivational speaker. She is a motivator. She has touched thousands of lives through her local TV show that she had for a long time and through her just unrelenting dedication to showing up for people, whether it's, super high-end clients or the local class at the YMCA that she teaches for free. She has led a life of wellness service totally outside of the matrix, right? She homeschooled her children and made all kinds of choices that you'll hear more about in the interview. Her career has been outside of the mainstream and in the kind of parallel economy that pioneers are building up, that is being created for those of us who would like to opt out of 9-to-5 jobs and so on and so forth. So I invite you to jump into a very high vibe conversation that I hope and think you will find motivating and empowering. And really what I'd love for you to do before you listen to this is just bring into mind something that you're excited to do or that you would be excited to do that you haven't done yet. Something in your personal life, something with your family, it could be at work, starting something new, joining something new. I don't know, whatever it is, starting a project, whatever it is, call it into your mind and allow the energy that was generated in this conversation to really activate you towards that dream, towards that vision. I'm not even going to call it a goal because I don't want you to think of it as a goal. I want you to think of it as a piece of life that you're excited to embrace, and take the energy of this conversation and infuse it into that dream. That is my dream for this podcast episode, which I know you're going to love. And don't forget to visit aboncharge.com with QBC in the discount box at checkout to get all the stuff you need to live a circadian regulated life, which is foundational to all these high vibes that we are blessed to be able to access on this crazy and interesting timeline that we are all living in. Have a good one. Renita Brennan, welcome to the QVC podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here, beautiful. Like, I've been thinking about this and praying about this for a bit. So
Oh,
happy to
good.
share it today.
Me too. Well, I'm delighted. So, just to set this up for my audience, I was on a call with you several weeks ago, and we hadn't ever been on a call before. And you graciously agreed to answer some questions that I had. And my colleague Melissa, who as recently voted onto the board of the Institute of Applied Quantum Biology, she's like all in it. You graciously agreed to answer questions. It was a really fun call, and I left, and I was like, something feels different. And I do all my work online, and I talk to wonderful people. I often leave feeling like fulfilled and happy, and that was and inspired. But I actually left a Zoom with you feeling energized, and I'm like, I don't usually get energized after sitting on a laptop. This is a high vibe woman we're dealing with here. So, Renita, your energy and your vibration and your consciousness operating at such a high level. Like I got the second order effects through the Zoom. So I really would love to hear your story, because I don't know, but I would maybe guess it wasn't always like that. You've probably had a journey.
Yeah, a journey it is. Still on it, right? We've not arrived.
No arrival. No finish line.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's been a total blessing. I mean, I've been in health, obviously, for a long, long time, passionate about wellness. I think that really started when I was in high school. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was very busy. She owned a restaurant. And so there was a lot of emotional trauma and drama happening in the house. And honestly, I found like weight training to be avenue that I really felt strong. Right. I was super strong at a young age. I mean, we lived in a small hobby farm. So I was pail feeding cows and carrying 5-gallon buckets at like age 12 full of water. So it was pretty wild upbringing, just a lot of kind of tension in the home and whatnot. And so I found at about age 14 that, wow, I'm strong. Like I can go to the gym and I can lift weights and I can inspire others. My friends would say, teach me how to lift weights. And I was like 14 teaching how to lift weights. I was like, okay. And so I really realized it was an outlet for me to just kind of regain strength and kind of step back into myself and probably just focus, right? Instead of the chaos of which I was living in. And so that journey with health probably started pretty young for me. Not perfect by any means, teenager, right? Wild, smoking cigarettes, doing dumb things, but certainly always had that avenue to go back to of fitness and feeling so empowered when I would go lift. And so I've literally been in the fitness realm for, I'm gonna be 49. So it's been a long time. Sometimes when I say how many years, I'm like, gosh, how could it be?
It can't have been that many years.
Yeah. How can it be like 20, 6 years? I feel like I'm 26 years old. So it definitely has kept me feeling young, living young. I have 3 sons now that are 25, 18, and 17. And so it's been a joy to be fit and healthy and kind of lead and guide them. So that's been awesome. But yeah, so my journey started a long time ago with the health realm. And I always knew I was a little different. I wasn't thinking like everybody else. I wasn't on that same path. And that really started in college. I remember even thinking I was supposed to go get vaccines again, right? That whole vaccine thing. And I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't like needles, right? And so just always pushing back against the system, pushing back against the dark side, I call it now. There's definitely a light and a darkness happening on the planet. We're living it. We're walking it out. Of course, with quantum biology, this. So it's kind of always been there, but not always easy. Married to my awesome husband, Scott. We had our 25th wedding anniversary this year. I call him Scotty the Hottie.
That's so sweet.
When you call your spouse Scotty the Hottie or a fun name like that, it just keeps things real fun and fresh. So I highly recommend that. So we do a lot of fun things together. We are having a great adventure right now with our children and our light phototherapy business, but it wasn't always good, right? Very hard trying things in marriage, in our life. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in business and physical education. I was going to be a PT or an athletic trainer. And when I was in college, I live in North Dakota. So they make you go do like this continuing ed type hours to, get this degree. And I remember they told me, you have to go to this football game and wait for somebody to get injured to help them, like as in this athletic training program I was in. And it was like literally a blizzard out. And I hate the cold. Like I'm such a sun person. And I'm like, I have to go sit and freeze my butt off and wait for someone to get injured. I thought I got to change my major. Like I cannot, I am more preventative. I am not waiting for, oh, heck to break loose and then go in there and have to repair some sprained ankle. I'm like, I need to teach people how to strengthen their bodies with light and in sunshine because I'm not going to do this. I literally, after doing that one day, I changed my major. I thought I can't do this. So for me, I've always just been that person that is like, really probably following my intuition, the Holy Spirit living in me, not really realizing that was what I was doing. Just getting on that journey when things felt alive and made me feel alive and better, just trusting and knowing, okay, that's the direction I need to go. I think sometimes we suppress that in our lives, and I don't. I'm like, you know what? That's where we got to go. That's where I'm being led. So that all happened, and then went back to school to get my doctorate in holistic nutrition and naturopathy. And while I was on that journey, got pregnant with my second son, Truett, and it was just over the top. At the time, I owned 2 gyms. So I was teaching 18 or 19 exercise classes a week being pregnant, Meredith. Can you imagine this? The big old
Renita.
mountain. Yeah,
Good Lord.
yeah, rebounding. I was doing mini trampoline classes before we're cool. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
God. Okay.
That one now is 18. So, and I was pregnant. So that was 19 years ago. I was teaching rebounding. Can you imagine? I was the only rebound facility in the state. We had like 25 of these mini trampolines. But my mom would say to me, Renita, you're 9 months pregnant. You can't be jumping on that trampoline with that baby in your belly. I'm like, he's going to come out an
You're
athlete.
like, watch
And
me.
yeah, I did. And the only thing that I could not teach was Pilates because, when you're down
Yeah.
there rolling more like roll like a ball, I was literally rolling over a ball in my
You
belly.
were the ball.
Yeah, so that was it. But, and on that journey, I said, you know what? I learned enough. I never completed college just because it got, obviously, when I'm teaching 19 classes and having 50 clients a week starting at 4 a.m., then I'm nursing a baby, right? This is not going to work. And something had to give. So I always say I learned enough to make me quite dangerous to the medical establishment and the drug cartel, the legal drug cartel, right? Because like I'm the mom that's like trying to get everybody off their legal drugs and go natural first. And so that was, a really interesting journey. I remember the book that I read in college that completely paradigm shifted everything for me. It was called The Politics of Cancer. I'm not sure if you've ever read it. The Politics of
No, but
Cancer
it
by Dr.
sounds.
Samuel Epstein was his name. Not to be confused with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes.
Dr. Samuel Epstein. It's a very thick book. I mean, it's just a big old book. And it's like 60% clinical evidence that basically the government created cancer. And it was crazy. And so when I read that book, it just was like, bam, like everything changed for me. I just realized that we need to be our own advocates of our health journey. We cannot rely on somebody else to guide us and lead us. I mean, we can have suggestions, right? But then again, you're always checking in with that Holy Spirit, with that intuition to say, is that right? Is that really the direction I'm supposed to be headed? So anyway, long story short, I didn't complete college. I completed my bachelor's, but not my master's and my doctorate. And suddenly I had this calling on my life that I was supposed to help a lot of people. At the time, I was running around giving a lot of presentations. I have a lot of fitness certifications. So I was a global fitness pro. So I was certifying fitness professionals. I was a master trainer for ACE. Many people know ACE Fitness. So I was teaching kickboxing classes all over the country for them. And I became Fit Beach certified. So I was teaching Pilates in all these remote locations around the world, training instructors. And so I did a lot with fitness, right? And I actually was Miss Fitness North Dakota.
You were? Okay, that's
Yeah.
really funny because when I
Yeah.
met you in person last week, I was like, I think this might be the most fit person I've ever met in real life.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. So
But
I was
you
Miss
are
Fitness.
very fit.
Well, I'm fit, but I'm always working on it. But like back then, I didn't know what I know now, right? So it was back then, it was just super over exercising, super calorie restriction. Honestly, Meredith, I was losing handfuls of hair in the shower. And I remember thinking, this is not who I want to be. They gave me the award. I was peeling because you have to super glue your bikini to your body. And I was like peeling my bikini off of my body in the shower that morning after I had been named Miss Fitness North Dakota, right? My hair is falling out. I mean, I'm just not feeling strong. Let me just say that. And I remember sitting in the shower thinking, there's got to be something else. There's got to be a better way. Like I'm missing something here. And that was when I was just, it was pretty much only exercise and, like I said, caloric restriction, which now we know caloric restriction can be very good. Intermittent fasting can be great for certain people. Absolutely. But then it just kind of helped me to open up that chapter of my life of natural health and healing where I'm like, okay, it's not just the grind. It's all of it. It's the whole
Yeah.
person approach. It's like my emotional state, right? It's like all of it. And so I really started walking down that path then of all things alternative and holistic and that's just been the journey I've been on. Like I said, we've not arrived and it's just been like literally God just opens one chapter after another and I just keep walking through that door when
Yeah.
I feel called. And it was suddenly I found myself at one point in my journey involved in the CBD space. Now, I've never even smoked marijuana. My kids always tell me that I should because I'm pretty hyper. As they're like, you should. I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm not lowering my frequency. I like myself high energized. But suddenly we found ourselves in a family crisis where we were looking at CBD and the endocannabinoid system and led me down this path where all of a sudden CBD was not allowed in the United States yet. The Farm Bill had not been passed. And we were all of a sudden in the CBD space with hemp CBD. So it was non psychoactive, of course. But all of a sudden, I'm in this arena where I'm talking the endocannabinoid system. And I get a phone call one day and somebody says, hey, Renita, you should go to the state capitol. The legislature is voting on CBD of whether or not it's going to be sold at only pharmacies. Only doctors and pharmacies will be able to sell it. And I thought, wow, my business would tank because at the time, because of that family crisis that we had walked down, I had got so involved and so knowledgeable about it that I now had a CBD business, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how that worked. And then suddenly I'm
Yep.
at the state capitol and I'm walking, I've got a sweater on and just like a mom, they're kind of pleading my case about why we're in the CBD space to all these basically legislators and attorneys. And every single person that testified ahead of me was high. And I thought, "Oh my gosh,
You
these guys
thought,
are."
"Oh, no. Oh, no."
I said to my husband, "These guys are making the legislators think that they gotta knock down this bill, right? And, like, they gotta just, like, yeah, the only place this can be sold is pharmacies." I mean, they were, like, all these drug addicts basically getting up and testifying. And so it was crazy, and I
What a
remember
wild world we're in.
we're so wild. Like, I mean, it was like you listen to these guys and you're like, "Really? Who let them on the stand?" And then I was like, "Hey," I tapped this attorney ahead of me. I said, "Hey, I'd never prepared to come here today." I said, "I just, made the decision about a half hour ago." I said, "But I'd love to testify and speak to the legislator." And so I, they said, "Okay, go to the front." And I walked up. I said, "Hi, you're swearing." And my name's Renita Brennan. And I said, "I would love to educate you a little today about the difference between hemp and marijuana." And I just went into I said, "You know the difference between a Doberman Pinscher and a Maltese? Like, have you seen like these? They're both dogs. No, that Doberman Pinscher is very different in temperament generally than that little Maltese, right?" And I spoke enough to their hearts and to their minds that they were just astounded that they had no working knowledge of that. And they said, "You know what? Let's table this." And then they came up to me and they said, "Renita, can you come in tomorrow and help us rewrite our state century code?" Yeah,
Oh
sure.
my
Sure
gosh.
I can. Yeah, I'm like, "How?"
Amazing what happens when you live an intuition-based life. Like,
Right?
you just get put in situations,
Like, how did I get here? I remember thinking, how
you're
did I
like,
get here? Like, this
"What
is
am I."
crazy. Yeah. And
Wow.
actually, what happened is the fuel for my fire was so hot going in. I don't know if I would have had the confidence to testify after seeing all the stone people because I was like, oh my gosh, I mean,
Yeah,
this
this
is
is not what I stand
this is
for.
not what I
This
signed
is
up for. Yeah, yeah. But on the way into the Capitol, I had a phone call from a woman, and she was a mom. And she was crying and she's like, "Renita, somebody told me you're on the way to the state capitol. I just have to tell you what happened to with my daughter, that she had some kind of seizure disorder. She's been taking the CBD, the hemp CBD for this amount of time, and we've been seizure free for 6 months. Whatever you do, don't let them stop being able to for you to share your CBD because I don't want to have to go to pharmacies or doctors to get this." And she was bawling how her daughter is doing so amazing. So I had this like supernatural surge going in Meredith where I'm like, "Oh, hold the torch for this young girl and her mother." Like I just sometimes those stories give you that supernatural energy just to go, I'm ready. You know what I mean? Give it
yes.
to me. Yes. And so it was like listening to that crying mom on the way in as I'm running into the state capitol was just like the super charge I needed to get up and testify. And so I was like, it's so interesting how God works in our lives. That anyway, so fast forward from
So
that journey,
great.
here I am right with the legislators rewriting state century code. I was on the news in North Dakota. I got one day somebody called me up and they said, hey, the news anchor wants to lose weight. We're here that because I was really known in our community. I helped the state of North Dakota to lose 100,000 pounds of fat. So I was like obsessed with getting people off their
You were
metformin.
like the OG Maha.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, seriously, literally before it happened, I was that person. So honestly, I would travel. I did over, I'm not kidding, well over 5,000 presentations. I mean, schools, nursing homes, workplace wellness. They were putting me in jets and flying me to different power plants across the country. And I was talking to blue collar guys about pooping. It was wild stuff. I'm having them pee on the pH strips to see what they're pee. Everyone take one of these into the bathroom. Anyway, so I was like, yeah, that was just like, it was just a wild journey. So I was just traveling all the time. And I remember the reason I got out of that, the workplace wellness is I was flying till they were putting me in a jet in the morning and fly me to all these different places to talk to their plant workers. And there was a windstorm one time on the way back, and it was the two pilots and me in the back in this little jet for this company. And I was literally, the airplane was just literally doing like 200 feet
Oh,
drops. And I mean, I'm down with my head between my legs, just saying, Lord, just please get me on the ground. At that point, I had just my first son, Bo. And I was like, let me get back home and I'm going to get off this plane. I never got back on the plane again. I was like, that was way too over the top for me.
yeah.
And I like fun and adventure, but that was just too much. The journey's just been like unfolding. But what happened was I ended up on the news for this segment and I was on there with this woman and she didn't know much about health, right? We ended up writing a book together called Nice and Fat because she realized that she was fat because she was nice and she had not drawn clear boundaries. So when people would give her food or say, eat this or do this, she would just do it. Like she was just nice. Like she wouldn't say, you know what, that's not part of my protocol. I'm like, she was just too nice. And so ended up doing five. She went from like a size 16 down to a size 4. She was running 5Ks by the end of it. But on that journey, they said, hey, do you want to have your own show on TV? So I said, sure. So for 8.5 years, I had my own segment called Wellness Wednesday. And then, of course, they're like, Renita, Monica's out of town for the next 2 weeks. Can you be the morning co-host? Now I'm suddenly the North Dakota Today co-host, the morning show here. And I always say that was hard for me because I'm very much, as you see me right here, I just am very authentic. So when I had to read a script and I had an IFB in, which was a little
Yeah.
earpiece where they were telling me what to say. And I said, what is IFB? And I said, you know what? I feel better. That's what it means for me. That's what I'm going to call it. Think like, okay, morning show starting in 5 seconds or whatever. And I realized I was not so good with reading. I was like, sounded like a robot.
Yeah, and those scripts are always
Oh,
they're so
ridiculous.
dumb.
Yeah. And then I would get to my segment and I was like, I was bringing in like everything, glide fitness. I'm on the ground showing people how to surf. I mean, we're doing it all, right? And just the joy. I just brought joy to North Dakotans for 8.5 years. Fitness, nutrition, just lifestyle, meditation, prayer. They really let me talk about whatever I wanted to
That's
until they didn't.
fantastic.
Well,
Until they
until they didn't.
until
Until
they
they
didn't.
didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I remember one time I was talking about like Coca-Cola should not be funding studies. Here I am running to all these reservations. We have a lot of Native American reservations in North Dakota. And I'm going in there and I'm educating them about diabetes, right? These people, it's
Mhm.
generational curses and generational health ailments. Like, right, they just don't climb out of it. And I'm going to tell you a story about a reservation because that's where I realized the spiritual realm was so real on a reservation. But back to the segment, I was talking about sugar and Coca-Cola should not be funding studies on diabetes. This doesn't make any sense to me. Like what? Like, and it's coming back that it's not really that bad for you, right? I mean, are you kidding
Right.
me?
Yeah, of
And
course.
so I'll never forget. I was getting ready to leave the station that day, our NBC station up here. Renita Brennan to the station manager's office, please. Renita Brennan to the station manager. And I thought, and I walked
Oh.
in there and he said, Renita, you cannot be talking about Coca-Cola like that. He said, those are our ad dollars. And it was a kind of a big hand slap, like, watch yourself, toe the line. And so then I realized, wow, okay, this is getting a little interesting. And so I continued to do it. And every time I would do a segment and that was the first of many, Meredith. Let me just say it. I was the first of many getting called into the principal's office. And so, like, I would always get called in, and he would be like, "Listen, kid." And so and then what happened was I saw the producer when the pandemic was starting to unravel and we got sent home. I was still doing the segment from home, literally making gluten-free carrot cake on Thanksgiving or pumpkin. I mean, it was just all this great stuff. I had my family involved. My kids were involved. We're in cooking segments. It was the funnest. Everybody loved the Wellness Wednesday because it was just pure joy and education and fun, and people just loved it. And I'll never forget it. This producer that was produced the morning show here, he said, all of those anti-vaxxers are going to get what's coming to them. He put that on his Facebook page, and I thought, wow, that's crazy that he's,
Oh,
like, saying that out there like that. And I've always said I'm not, like, anti-vaccine, I'm just pro-education,
yeah.
right? Like, so if you really educate yourself thoroughly and understand really what you're injecting into yourself or your children, I mean, then that's your decision, right? But if you're not really fully educating yourself, then what are you doing, right? Like, just educate yourself first. And so,
Yeah.
I got a phone call after 8.5 years. They called and they said, "Renita," because they said, "We want you to start talking about this vaccine and the importance of health." And I said, "No." I said, "I think people need to go outside." I said, "Everybody got sent home from work." I said, "This is going to be the time of our lives. The whole state is going to get fit as a fiddle because now they're all at home and everybody's got time to work out finally. We are going to get the North Dakotan so in shape." I was so excited about it just to launch this like home initiative where everyone's getting fit. And they called me up and they said, "You know what? You're moving in a different direction than us. We're going to take a break for a while." And I thought, what? I said, my direction has been and always will be the health and healing of the North and South Dakotans. It has, that's like my MO.
Yes.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
who I am. Like I am wellness, like an educator and inspire of people to help them to get moving and step into their greatness. Game over, done. And so just like that, it was over. But then I always, my
My God.
interesting thing in my life is
I have chills, Renita. I mean, standing your ground in that moment
standing
with
the
that
ground, but I
pressure.
always think it's always glory to glory. I'm a believer in Jesus, and I believe
Okay.
that we are believing and living in this realm where God is taking us from glory to glory. That doesn't mean there might not be a real valley in
Oh,
between,
yeah. There's some
right?
valleys.
There's some valleys, you know what I mean? But if we just stay the course and stay on that alignment, I just feel like it all works itself out exactly how it's supposed to. So then I started saying to myself, well, God has something much larger in store for me than 800,000 North Dakotans. That's how many the viewing audience was. It must be something where I'm supposed to help a million people, right? And we don't have that here. And so I really kind of stood on that. And then, of course, LifeWave came into the mix with phototherapy. So now I'm not educating about the endocannabinoid system. I'm educating about photobiomodulation, which the world knows very little about because they've been so biochemically trained. We'll get to that, but I want to tell you this real quick story about being on the reservations. So this
Yes.
was
Yes.
wild.
Tell.
This is a wild story. So I was on a reservation and I'll never forget it. There was about 400 people. So when they knew I was coming to the reservations, because I was the NBC health and fitness expert, everyone saw me on TV, right? So now I'm
Right.
coming to the reservation to teach them how to eat, to teach them how
Right.
to take back their health.
And that
We
helps you help them because they're like, oh, it's Renita from Wellness Wednesdays. We know her. You have credibility. You're part of the community. You're a
yeah,
local celebrity.
let
It's
the media.
great.
Yep, that's what I
Okay.
was called. And and then I would go to all these different places, everything from like I'm talking nursing homes to the Air Force Base. One time I was, teaching military Pilates. I mean, I was just doing it all. Like I would go into like halfway houses after people would get out of prison. And I mean, these women wouldn't have shoes. And so I would literally bring 20 pairs of tennis shoes that I would have donated. So all these gals could have tennis shoes when they're working out. I mean, I was in every trench. Name the trench, I was in it. I was with morbidly obese. I was with people that are blind. I was like, I kind of worked in all the demographics, but my sweet spot was definitely weight loss and teaching people about their metabolism. And so I was doing this and I was on this reservation and I'll never forget it. There was a gymnasium. This is wild. There was about 400 people in the gymnasium. They were sitting on the floor. And with the Native American culture, it's like they're there's a lineage where they all are connected, very connected. So we had
Mhm.
not only the kids, we had the parents and the grandparents and sometimes the great grandparents, right? They're all at this event where Renita's coming to talk about how to lose weight is basically how we were touting it, right? But basically I was teaching them blood sugar stabilization. This is like 20 years ago. And so I literally would go into these things and I would be educating and I actually created a tool. It was called the PFC plate to teach them how to lose weight. Everybody would have a white paper plate. I'd educate them. I was a great educator with energy and they learned so quickly. And I remember teaching about that you can take back your power. You don't have to be diabetic. You don't have to have metabolic syndrome. Like I started just like literally just speaking blessings over these people. Like it was just like almost prophetic how I was prophesying their destiny and their future. And I remember blinking and looking down. And when I looked up, I was watching these elders cry. These elderly gentlemen were just bawling. And I remember just like kind of putting my head down just to say a quick prayer. And when I looked up in the spiritual realm, God showed me literal chains falling off of people. Like the chains were just falling off of them. Like and I was like this, it was like I was sitting there in the present moment, but God was like showing me this. And this has happened a few times to me in my life where God has showed me like this vision that drops in front of me, almost like a movie where all the chains are falling off of people. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, what is going on here? And it was just like, I was getting a glimpse of the spiritual realm, right? I was getting a glimpse of the spiritual realm, what was happening. Like captives were literally being set free. And
God.
so it was just crazy. And then I would move to the next reservation and give the next talk. And I'll never forget it. And the Native American culture is so very spiritual. If you don't know that, they're very
Yes,
spiritual,
very.
very spiritual beings. And I remember I was at another event at another school, and all of a sudden we heard this baby crying, like a baby way. It was a crazy, like, and I remember thinking, where is this baby? Like, who's got a baby in here? Like, we're at a school, and then somebody said, oh, they're the baby's in the weight room. And I was like, the baby's in the weight room? What was going on here at this school? And I was like, okay, that's very bizarre. And then we heard it again, this crying baby. Everybody heard it. It wasn't just me hearing it. Everybody was hearing this crying baby. And it would just stop me in my tracks because it was so loud. And then some guy got up and he said, oh, let me go check what's going on. And so he went into the weight room. And of course, there's no one there. There's no baby in the weight room. And he came back out and he said, we'll discuss it afterwards, Renita. And I said, okay. And I was like, it was just bizarre. It happened like 3 times and then it stopped. And then after we were all done, the gentleman came up to me and he said, this school and this weight room is on an old cemetery. And he said, and so a lot of times we hear various things coming from the weight room. And today we heard a crying baby. And I'm like, this is wild. Like, so, I mean, just.
So they were all like, oh, it's the weight room, meaning it's the spirits in the weight room, not that there's a baby in there lifting weights.
Hello.
They knew. Oh my
My goodness.
goodness.
Yeah, so my journey has been like things like that where I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so I'm Christian, but I'm being exposed to this very spiritual realm. So I feel like now in my life, like I love the Lord Jesus with all my heart, but a lot of Christians don't know about frequency or energy or quantum physics or quantum biology. Like they just don't talk that language, Meredith, because we've been so biochemically trained from those darn commercials, right? And so, which at the point when I was on the TV and I said to my husband, I'm coming home, I'm talking health, I'm telling people how to take back their power. And then there is a pharmaceutical commercial on right after me. I said, this is such a misalignment in my spirit. I don't know how much longer I could do that. So I wasn't trying to take myself off the news, but in my spirit, I knew that there was like this, it was like, I felt like I was in static. I was like, it was like the black and white ants fighting on TV, like where you don't have the station or like on a radio station where you're like, it's kind of going in and out.
Yeah.
And I was that person,
Not quite in alignment anymore. And it's phasing it. That reality is phasing out.
Yeah. And how many of you want to just stay there? Like I wanted to stay there because it was easy. It was a comfort zone for me. I enjoyed it. I loved it. People loved it, right? It was very much something that I still enjoyed it. I wasn't like hating every time I had to go to the news station. I was like, I get to
and that's when we stay stuck. Well, it's not terrible. And this part of it's good. And even though that voice, our soul voice is like, this isn't in alignment anymore. It's like, how horrible do we need to make it before you make a choice?
And I always say to Scott, if that guy went to just call me up that day and shut me off, I would have never quit. And then I would never be on this conversation with you today. Right. So I always say when there's a closure of something else is opening. It's a new beginning and it's beautiful. So, but again, like you said, if you're okay, I was okay. I mean, I was more than okay.
That describes most people. We are, a very privileged to live in the United States and most people around us are doing okay on most levels. And it's like the fight is just to stay in the okayness. instead of opening those doors to like what else is possible.
Right. And it's so big. It's so big, Meredith, when we kind of step into that unknown where you kind of get the butterflies and you're kind of
Yeah,
scared a
like,
little bit. Whoa, tricks. But, and just again, trusting the plan and trusting the process. And so, when God brought phototherapy to my life, I've always loved the sun. As you can see, like I'm a super tan all the time. I'm
yeah.
always in the sun. I remember as a kid just finding a pocket of sun, being an abusive alcoholic home. Sometimes it would be in the car. I know this just sounds crazy. I'd go in
Not
my
at all.
car and the
Yep.
sun would be shining in the window, and it would be like I would just lay in the
Yeah.
sun in the car, the quiet, the peace, because it was
You were intuitively creating a safe space for yourself. And that sunlight is giving your body safety signals.
absolutely. So, I mean, just doing
Amazing.
all that
Amazing.
from the get-go. Like, I've always
Yeah.
been like light. I've always been the person that was like, okay, light is so healthy for you. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I never bought into the message. I remember
Never bought into the
never bought
SPF
into it.
900.
Real. I remember being on the news and my friend who I'd helped lose the weight and do the, she was now a runner. She would say, Renita, you've got to tell me about sunscreen. I said, sunscreen is a farce. I said, I am not telling. She said, I've had skin cancer 5 times. And I said, how often do you wear sunscreen? She goes, every time I go outside. I said, exactly. I said, ask me how many
Good
times
for you. Oh my God.
ask me how many times I've had it. I said, never. And I said, and I won't get it because I don't burn. And I said, you know what? I don't believe in burning and just being
Yeah.
like a
No, you be
ruthless.
responsible.
Yeah, you be responsible when you go outside, but it's not. I said, there's other things we can use, like coconut oil that has natural SPF. Like, there's other things that we can use to like really protect our skin if we want to do it, not these chemicals, right? And I would say to her, listen, it says dermatologist recommended on those Neutrogena commercials, but they've got 14 lawsuits right now for cancer. So I would always just come in there with the hard cold facts, and then they're like, they'd have to back down because I'm like, this is what's really going on. And
Good
so,
for you. You had
yeah,
conviction. I love it. And I just want to say, because it's interesting, like the journey of like first it was talking about Coca-Cola, and now, I mean, Coca-Cola still exists, but it is consensual, agreed knowledge that it causes diabetes and is bad for you. And then it was like the sunscreen industry, which is now also going through its reckoning, having to take things off the shelf and change, not to mention all of the research showing sunlight, as you were claiming, is good for you. And now we're coming to the pharmaceutical, right? Where it's like everything that was the big commercials funding these programs that were filled with great information that you were delivering, but there's that conflict, right? And like, I'm married to someone who works in advertising. So like, I really understand that world, and that conflict is always going to be there if it's like a commercial based product. Like if you're doing media or any content that relies on being subsidized by corporations, like that conflict is always going to be there. And I was wanted to ask quickly about when you were at the station, COVID, they're rolling out the mRNAs. Did they like explicitly ask you to endorse the COVID jabs? Like, were they like, can you just weave in how this is part of being healthy? Like, what was that conversation?
Well, I was just moving totally in the direction of sunlight, exercise, deep breathing.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to shut your TVs off except for this morning show, I'd say. I literally would say that. Shut the TV off except for the morning show. But what happens is you really realize in a hurry that this entire marketing juggernaut of the mainstream media, this is how crazy it gets, Meredith. The station that I was at, and I think originally the news was a good thing. I actually think it was a good thing. I think they brought some goodness to the world. And it was instead of just like a radio or a newspaper, it was something where it was like, oh, visual, and it was entertaining. But when I realized that our news station was one of the 150 news stations that were bought up by one organization called Gray Media, which I always thought that's so interesting that Gray Media.
Gray.
That was
the gray area.
Right. I was like, this
operating in the gray zone of morally, ethically.
What are the chances it's called Gray? Anyway, it's just got crazier and crazier. But yeah, so when they had that rollout, when they were like, oh yeah, we've been bought up by Gray Media. And so now like we've really got to adhere and do all these things. And I thought,
okay,
oh, this is getting really interesting.
Now I see. Because I was like, wow, even a little independent radio station, not independent.
No,
beholden to corporate masters. Okay.
Yeah. So when you would see those clips where they would show every news media person saying the same thing, that's exactly what was going on. And the big revelation came for me. We had a crisis in North Dakota. It was called DAPL. And it was this whole thing where, and I was very pro Native American. My dad was raised on a reservation. I was like always feeling a need to serve that demographic and that walk of life because these people need guidance and help and love. And so they don't just need another Coke, right? Like they need education so they are bigger and stronger and more powerful than this. Like they just have taken away their power. The government essentially took away the power. Anyway, so there was this thing going on called DAPL where they were running like a oil pipeline through, and I'm not anti-oil. Like, I feel like, again, it's like, but
I know. It's like you have one question. You're like, should it be like this? Everyone's like, you're against the whole thing. I'm like, no, I just have some questions.
Do you drive a car? Yeah, we've got an e-Jeep, but we've also got gasoline vehicles. I mean, it's cold here in North Dakota. If you try to drive just the e-Jeep, you'll be freezing to death because as soon as you turn on the heat when it's 45 below, you need gas.
Right.
Okay, it's like you were like, I got an e-Jeep. It has to run on gasoline. But anyway, this pipeline was running through the reservation, and the Native Americans were saying, nope, you can't do it. It's going to affect our water or whatever. But it all came down to money because what happened is they were trying to get a dollar amount or whatever. And long story short, the oil company said, we're going to go around the reservation. Then we're not going to go through it. Well, now that they didn't have any money. Now it was zero money. And so it was this big fiasco, and it caught major media. It went on for like a full year. It was just every day was crisis on the news. And what I've realized about crisis is when there's crisis, people are glued to their television sets. What's going to happen next? Tell me what to do next. Tell me what I should do today type deal. And I'll never forget, after DAPL ended, I walked into the news station, and this is where it was just like a big bonk alongside the head for me because I knew that there was this misalignment. I knew there was this static and this friction, but I was just kind of pretending like I'm going to be okay, right? There's not. And I walked into the news station, and everybody was just long-faced. I mean, everybody was like mad and irritated and sad, and some people were crying. I was like, what's going on in this place? Like, what? It was like, I walk into like the war zone here. And my friend looked at me and she goes, DAPL ended. I said, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. It's been nothing but a fight and people stealing people's cows and crazy stuff for a year. Thank God that thing ended. And she goes, Renita, we need another crisis. She said, crisis moves add dollars. And that's all she said to me. And she walked away. And I remember thinking, holy Moses.
Oh,
like, I am sick to my stomach right now. Like, and she just said it that plainly to me. Like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, right? And that same person, right when COVID was starting, about a week before I got taken off the news, she came to my house. She was a big masker. She had got all the vaccines. She was really into all that. Because of course she was on the news. She came to my house and she didn't want to come in my house. We were sitting outside in front of my house, and she was sitting outside. We were outside, and she said, I feel guilty for the amount of money I've taken. Where some people have lost all their jobs, she said, the amount of money I've taken during this, I feel guilty. And she never expounded on that. And I should have asked, so I thought to myself, and she's been an anchor there for like 30 years. So I thought, OMG. This whole thing is again, and then going back, gray media. Oh my gosh. So the point is, I didn't even want to talk about this because this stuff is also lame and depressing and old news. I like to talk, I'm more future focused.
Yeah.
There is the journey that really got me to say, wake up, take control of your health, open your eyes, be your own advocate, let the Holy Spirit, let the intuition rule you, step into your greatness. Don't just comply. Don't just, because it's convenient and easy, keep doing that same thing. Like, if God is calling you up, get up.
Get up. Yeah.
We actually bought the domain Get Up World because I'm like, we got to get up, get up. There's that great story in the Bible where that guy was laying there praying for 37 years. I always think he was laying on a yoga mat. But he was laying on his mat by the healing waters, like laying there praying,
Praying for a miracle.
37 years he was praying. I mean, this sounds like some people that are caught in their sickness or their stagnation, right? And then Jesus shows up on the scene one day. The light of the world shows up and like taps him and says, and the guy looks at him, and Jesus says, do you want to be well? Ask him that question. He didn't say, let's pray some more. The guy's been praying for 37 years. He says, and this is where I come in as the Christian mom saying, listen, you can pray about it, but it is time for massive action. Like, you've got to move. And When you start moving, the path will reveal itself. Trust me. This is how this thing works. It doesn't reveal itself many times beforehand. It's one foot in front of the other. Oh, now it's kind of like a
The
flashlight.
next the next step,
Yeah.
and then the next, and then the
Yeah.
next. You're like, I want to see the whole path
Yeah.
before I
Yeah.
get on it. Sorry,
Yes.
nope.
It's like that. And then she says to him, get up. Because he says, it's basically like I say to people all the time in health, Meredith, do you want to change your story? Jesus said, do you want to be well? I ask people when they're telling that story that is a neural pattern, because I'm crazy about the power of the subconscious mind. I believe
Ooh,
we
let's
all
talk about that.
operate
Yeah.
from it. Oh my gosh, it's my favorite stuff to talk about because I've been a student of it. My mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's 11 years ago. So I've been a student of the mind, the brain, how the brain works. I was always fascinated how you can take a group of people and how 50% of them have great success and the other 50% don't. And you're teaching the same concepts. What's going on, right? So like, I'm like, what is that magic? What is that magical or that power that some people take hold of to achieve their results, their goals, their dreams, and others don't? Like that's always been just a fascination for me.
Yeah. Like, why did you come out of a childhood with an alcoholic parent and an absent parent? I had a similar situation, and like the darkness calls. Like it's there. I look back, especially at a phase in my life in my 20s, where like it was like I could have gone in a lot of directions, and for whatever reason, and maybe we could talk about that. Like I felt drawn to the light, and I went down that path instead. And so did you.
Yeah. And I think it's, what I think it is, I think sometimes, well, first of all, I think it might be just a calling. Some people just have that calling on their lives. And so when they feel that light, they're like, you know what, that's the direction I need to go. I think in my world, I'll call it God because God surrounded me. I had wonderful clients. Like, I mean, the people that I was dealing with, I was really good at my craft. I like with like fitness and nutrition and weight loss. I mean, I was excellent at it. Like I was fun. They loved it. Right. And so I was attracting some pretty amazing people. I mean, I taught group fitness for free at a church for 10 years, 3 times a week at 5:30 in the morning. Like that was for free. But then I had this other side of me where I had the elite, like the cream of the crop coming to me, right? Like they had the money and they could afford what I was doing and they were having fabulous results, right? They were loving every second of it. And then a lot of them on my journey, I remember just meeting people even that taught me about money because I was not raised in wealth. I was not raised in financial literacy. Like, now my husband, Scott, he's a financial planner. So he's always like, we got to teach people to make smart money moves. Like we're pretty crazy about generational health and wealth over here. Like we're kind of obsessed with it, Meredith. So like we love generational health and wealth because we just believe that we can break off those chains. Just like I saw that day in the gymnasium on the reservation, those chains falling off of people. We have the choice to do that. And so what I think on my journey really helped was the amazing people around me because they would bring something to the mix. And I think because I'm just listening to this whole series and they're saying the things that make people energetically really amazing, like outside of just like high energy, like you said at the beginning, I'm very high energy. I've always been this way. So like, what is it? I've realized recently, like I'm listening to this incredible kind of suppressed information and they're like, it's light, it's sunlight, it's grounding, it's exercise, it's movement, it's breathing, it's rebounding, right? I'm like, oh, of course. Well, of course I've been high energy because I've been doing all of that stuff all of my life. I haven't always made a lot of money. I haven't always helped a lot of people, but I've always been on that. We all had a garden as a kid. So even though I was smoking cigarettes, but who knows, maybe the nicotine I needed, now we're finding out nicotine's good for us. It's just all the other chemicals in it. But the bottom line, I thought to myself, like, I've done a lot of things right. I remember being as a kid selling at farmer's market, selling vegetables at farmer's market. We'd pick them at the crack of dawn with flashlights and get them down to the market. So I always had a tremendous work ethic. That's just like me. Like I've just been a worker bee. I feel good when I work. Like I'm like, there's joy in me when I work. I don't feel good when I sit, like and do nothing. I mean, maybe to meditate for a bit or whatever, to sit on a beach, watch the sun for a bit. But I like to get out and bless and serve and do. I'm a doer. And I think that motion and that movement forward, I think it increases your energy. So I think that because I've always been in that forward motion, I've never been like, I don't want to talk about the past very much. I talk about the past more today than I probably have in the last 5 years, to be honest. I don't talk about it that much because it formed me to who I am. And I kind of like who I am right now. I actually love myself, not in a weird way, just like in a really super powerful way.
Yeah.
And so like, I just think I want to talk about from here forward, what are we going to do? Like, what's the changes we're going to make? Who are we going to serve? Who are we going to bless? What's going to happen? And I like to have that vision. And what I realized, back to the power of the subconscious mind. So here's how God works. It's the people that were around you that came into my life, that were pouring into me, giving me book titles, that were giving me ideas. A friend of mine at 25 led me to Jesus Christ. I was raised Catholic, never really had a strong relationship. You know, we kind of had that ivory Bible with gold letters sitting on the table, and my mom and dad are fighting like cats and dogs. So never really believed that. And then was introduced to Jesus at 25, became a born again believer, found out after 25, my name Renita means born again.
No.
And when I found that out, I was just like cheering for days. Right. Oh, of course my name means born again. Of course my name does mean that, right? And so, and just really stepping fully into that. But, you know, walking down that Christian path, realizing a lot of Christians are sitting the church highly medicated, praying about their health and taking handfuls of meds and not getting better, right? And so how can I feel my call there? Okay, I'm going to go to the church community. Realize I was a little too mouthy for the church. I'm slightly mouthy. I sometimes swear a little. It's marketplace worship. So where God has placed me now, where I'm out in the marketplace talking to people. This is how we got to know you. I got to know you, Meredith, right? Like just out in the marketplace, serving, loving, the joy of the Lord, promoting products and ideas, things that are going to help up-level people's lives, upgrade their thinking and their lives. And that marketplace worship has been my place to share Christ, right? But on that journey, I've realized, okay, Christians are really missing out on something. Why are they so sick? If they're so powerful and they were, you know, given this authority on the planet by Jesus, why are they half dead? Why are they taking so many medications? Why are they broke? Why are they complaining all the time? Right. So like for me, there's always been this massive disconnect, which led me then on my journey to the power of the subconscious mind. And so literally, I was involved in a network marketing company about 18 years ago. And I won this trip. I earned this incentive trip to Maui, Hawaii. And I was on this airplane with this gentleman. By the grace of God, again, I'm sitting next to somebody comes in my life, relationships. That is how you open portals. The mouth is a portal. Eyes are a portal. Our ears are a portal. The biggest portal, I think, is Jesus. But at the end of the day, like there's these portals. The portal of heaven is happening right now. I call it the glory realm. It's coming to earth. I am a representative of the glory realm. I live in the glory realm. I live in the abundance, Meredith. I just live in that space of all possibilities are happening. Like, it's not like, oh, it's a far-fetched. No, this is really happening. And so I was on this airplane 18 years ago, and this gentleman who was a dentist, and I just had a joy sitting next to him for 6 hours. I sat next to him on this flight. He couldn't believe I had won this trip to Maui. He's like, how did you win this trip to Maui? I'm paying to go to the same place you're going. And he ended up signing up for my network marketing business. This is 18 years ago. He filled up a sign-up sheet. He was a dentist from over in Wisconsin. And the thing he said to me, he said, Renita, he said, you are so amazing with your energy. He said, you need to read the book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. He said this to me 18 years ago. Okay. You cannot make up this stuff that's happened on my journey.
Like you end up sitting next to the dentist who's read that book. Like that's not a real high on the list of most dentists.
And this is 18 years ago.
Yeah.
So I never heeded it. So I always say when someone gives you something, when someone gives you a book, when someone gives you an idea, when someone gives you something that's going to upgrade your life, say yes. Say yes. It opens a portal. It just opens a portal. And you don't know what that portal is going to bring. Is it going to bring financial health? Is it going to bring physical health? Is it going to bring a miracle for your aging mother? Is it going to bring a miracle for your dog? I don't know. It's going to do something. But the point is just say yes. And so I didn't read the book, but here's what happened. Fast forward to about 2 years ago. So now, like literally 16 years later, imagine this. From the moment that he told me that on that airplane, I'm listening to this guy talk on social media one day, and I'm like, why does this sound so familiar? What? And you just know when someone speaks and they're just speaking to you. Like you just, like I am feeling that frequency of what this guy was saying. He was like talking about all of these things that I believe in. Like he was talking about the invisible realm, how it's greater than the visible realm, right? And he was, and it's like the stuff that you talk about, Meredith, right? So like he's talking about this, but he's saying it in such a way, like it's a personal development way. Right, because I've read the others. I've read the greats, right? You know, I've read all the Think and Grow Rich. I read all of them, everything. I love anything brain. I love Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Carolyn Leaf. I love the neuroscientists. I love the brain stuff. But when this guy was saying it was something else was coming, it was like the static was gone. Like how we talk, like most people live in the static. They just live in the static.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a little bit of suffering almost. It's kind of like being a little bit of a martyr.
Yeah.
It's just not living their best, but they're just kind of living in the static. And it was when this guy spoke, it was like I was tuned completely into like the right radio station, and it was crystal clear, and my soul was like, oh, like it was leaping. Like when I was listening to this guy talk, and I'm like, what is it about this dude? And one day he said it, he held up the book and he said, if you haven't read this book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, and I thought, oh, gee. That dentist showed me that book on that airplane 18 years ago or 16 years ago. It was about then. And I never read it. So I couldn't hit the buy button fast enough. I went on Amazon. I'm getting a case of these books because why didn't I read it then?
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm reading it now.
You know what is so funny is that book has crossed my path, and I've heard it. People talk about it so many times, and I'm like, I should read that, and I never have.
Oh, I'm obsessed with it. Like next to the Bible,
I'll go to Amazon when we hang up.
I've read it 14 times. I'm not embellishing the number, and I just keep reading. It's on repeat. But long story short, I start reading this book, and I'm like, oh, like the keys to the kingdom in my realm are in this book because it's talking exactly about like why some have success and why others don't. And it's telling you the exact blueprint so you can have the success. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I could have had this knowledge 16 years ago, but I was like unresponsive and didn't like so when someone says go, do, like, and again, it has to align. Your spirit has to leap. But when your spirit leaps, go, do, hit the buy button or whatever it is, like, right? Like, just like,
say yes. Let
yes.
the portal open. Walk through it.
Opens, and then you don't know exactly the goodness of God that's going to pour out through that, but you know it's going to be good because it's you. The biggest way to open the portal of heaven to earth to stand in the glory realm is to live in a state of joy and being happy. Feel good now, right? You want to feel good now, and this is why I've realized I've been a master of this stuff my whole life, and I didn't even know how I was master until recent because I was like, oh yeah, I was laying in the sun, I was earthing, I was always sunlight in the eyes, I was always exercising. I was always rebounding. I was always doing these things, listening to music. I've been a fitness instructor. I said music has probably saved my life. Here I was a kid. I learned to teach group fitness. You know, at about 18, I started.
Your whole day was high frequency.
My whole day has been high. Of course, I'm high frequency.
Every day.
Every
for
day.
your whole life. Amazing.
Then you plug in good nutrition with that. Oh my gosh, I become unstoppable, right? Like, and then now learning about like salt, how they lied about that, and putting salt in my mouth. I'm like, oh my gosh, my vision just got brighter. Right? Anyway, the point is back to The Power of the Subconscious Mind. I read that book, and it was literally like, this is it. Like, this is what everybody needs. So for me, I have spiritual giftings of wisdom. So once you become a Christian, like there's these different spiritual giftings. One is called like hospitality. These are the people when you go to their house, they make you feel so welcome and you can live there, right? I'm not that. You might come to my house, we might visit for 3 hours and forget to offer you water. Like I don't have a spiritual gifting of hospitality, right? But I have the spiritual gifting of discernment where I'm like, ooh, like that's right. And I also have the spiritual gifting of wisdom. I know things that I shouldn't know. Like, I'm like, how did I know that? Or where did that come from? Like that, it's almost like wise beyond my years. You're given the spiritual gifting of wisdom. In the Christian realm, you're given that gifting, not to just say, look at me, I'm a smarty pants. It's always a gift to serve and bless the masses. So you're giving that gift so that you can go like impact and change and save lives, essentially, right? So it's never like a smarty pants thing. It's like, I know this and I can go serve a lot of people with this knowledge. So I better go share, right? Anyway, so as soon as I grabbed hold of The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy, I was like, because I read this thing one time that said, if you learn something and you teach it within 24 hours, you're going to retain like 80% of it. Whereas if people learn something and you don't go teach it, you're not going to retain much 24 hours later, like maybe 20%. So for me, I've been a big learner teacher. That's like a gifting that they have. Yep. And I don't dwell too long. They're like, am I going to get it perfect? We're homeschooling our boys, and a technique I teach them all the time is stop with the perfection. Don't do that. Completion is better than perfection. Completion is better than perfection because it's going to move you down that road. Don't feel like you have to be just perfect to begin anything, because how are you going to become an expert in anything? By beginning. Like, you got to start. And so, like, I teach this to all the time. So back to the power of the subconscious mind, he teaches you exactly what I was seeking. By the way, if you're seeking it, you will find it. What you seek, you will find, right? People don't, they have not because they want not. I want, I seek, I desire, right? Those are strong emotional forces. Some people say, I don't want to make money. I want to make a lot of money. I need a lot of money to have a lot of fun and adventure with my family. And I have a lot of organizations I like to give a lot of money to. So like, I need more money, right? And so like what people say, they kind of live from this like, oh, I'm going to be more righteous if I say I don't want to make any money. I'm like, that doesn't make you righteous. Like, the people that are robbing the banks are the people that don't have any money. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, come on, guys, like, get with it. So for me, it's been that too, Meredith, because I was never raised in wealth. I was never raised in health. And so a thing that I decided to do was just break that generational curse. So much like that day that was just huge for me that day in that gymnasium on that reservation, when I saw those chains fall off of those people. I mean, grown men crying. I mean, I didn't tell you the rest of the story. I mean, I came back to that reservation 2 months later, and there were diabetics that were there that were, let's say, 350 pounds. And I'd come back 2 months later, and they were down to 250 pounds. They had lost 100 pounds, and they were literally off of their metformin and their insulin. They got completely off their diabetes medication. That was my goal. We got to get you off the drugs, because, again, the drugs make you staticky. I'm not on any drugs. Can you tell? I'm not on any drugs.
I can tell.
The reason they have you on drugs is they want you in the static. You're not decisive. You're not, your energy is not as strong.
You can't feel your soul leap. It's everything. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, you read these stories about people that were on depression medication for 16 years and they don't really recall having an emotional elevated state at their children's birthday parties, for God's sake, because they were on depression medication for 16 years, right? So I hear these stories all the time because it flatlines you. Flatliners. Remember the movie Flatliners?
Yes.
Notice stuff, those buggers. But anyway,
Yes,
so
they told us. They told us.
Yeah, they're always telling, but they flatlined us. And then with meds, especially, it does keep you in static. So that's another way to increase your energy. You know, I'm not saying stop your meds, consult with your doctor, right? You got to do the right thing. But the bottom line is that should be a working relationship where you're working together to get off the drugs, because they're really messing up your frequency, you know, that you have with the divine. And so anyway, so that's all stuff I'm learning of reason. I'm like, oh, of course, this is why I'm high energy. I think about something, it happens. I think about something, it happens. I'm like, I've literally and I quit brushing my teeth with fluoride 20 years ago, right? I was the mom like 20 years ago that quit vaccinating my kid. Actually, 23 years ago, quit vaccinating my kids, right? Like, so the last two has not had one. Like, I just figured it out and I just aligned. I aligned with it. You know what I mean? And so back to the power of the subconscious mind, because we should say how you do this, because people don't realize they can change it. So 98% of everything we do every day is the same thing that we did yesterday. It's all. Yeah. So I'm always thinking, you better have good habits. You better be developing the right patterns, because if not, you're just repeating the insanity, right? Because nothing's changing, right? You're just getting sicker. You're on the wrong track. You're not winning. I want people to win in their life. Like, why not me? Why not you? Why not now? And so literally, as I was reading this book, I was like, I've always thought in the morning, like right when you wake up, you're not quite fully awake. Or when you're going to bed at night, you're not quite fully asleep. There's something that's happening. I could never quantify it. I just knew it was happening, where when I would put my thought and my mind on like good stuff, I would sleep better. And it was almost like I was like in this dream state where I was thinking about it, right? And another time that happened to me all the time is when I was in the shower. I'd be in the shower and just having the water, and when I was swimming. I would go swimming sometimes and I'd have the best ideas when I was swimming. And I always said to my husband, and he said to me, well, maybe it's because your mouth is shut.
Thanks, honey.
I quit talking. He said something like, so I'd be swimming and I'm like, oh my God, I came out of the pool with this brilliant idea. You know, or I'd take a shower. Or sometimes when I was feeling a little bit slow or staticky, I would go sometimes I would take 3 showers in a day. And of course, I've got the shower heads that filter everything. So don't worry if you're worried about that, like me getting chlorine. I'm not, because I'm way ahead of that. I'm way ahead of that curveball.
You're on top of all of it.
I'm on top of all that stuff. Anyway, that's easy stuff. That's easy. But anyway, so I would take multiple showers, and it was like it would almost unleash this creativity in me. Well, now finding out showers, deep breathing in the shower, you're entering different stages. The delta, the alpha state, instead of living in the beta state, is kind of like the poor state. And that's the state that all of us kind of live in. It's like the subconscious where we're going through the emotions, you know what I mean? Not much changes. But as soon as you tap into the meditative breathing, and especially right as you're drifting off and right as you're waking up and in the shower or when you're in water, guess what happens? That is where you're tapping into this subconscious realm where you can literally reprogram yourself. You can really reprogram. So anything that happened, that subconscious mind was developed between the ages of 0 and 7 years old, right? That's where everything was laid down foundationally. I don't know about you, but my life sucked in those ages. Like it was not good. It was rough. Okay. And so like if I'm living from that, oh my life would be a crime scene. Like it would be stupid. And so I'm like, I'm not living from that. Like, so somehow because of me being energetically high, Meredith, with doing the right things unconsciously, not even really knowing I was doing them. It was just what, when I did them, I felt better type deal. Like doing those things has kept me above that. But yet I'm wondering, why don't some people escape that? Why don't they escape the 0 to 7? You know, maybe they were told they were fat when they were a child. Maybe they were told that they were dumb or not smart enough or slow or, you know, can't sell or can't do this.
Or they have to be nice all the time, like
You have
that
to be
lady you
nice all the
wrote
time,
the
nice
book
and
with.
fat. Yeah, you have to be so nice all the time. You have to say yes because you don't want people to think bad of you or whatever. You can't be yourself. So whatever was laid down there, the only question I ask people is when you look at what your subconscious mind is how is your life working?
Yeah.
The life is the fruit on the tree, baby.
Yeah. What kind of results are you getting? What's
That's
going
it.
on?
If you don't
How's
like
that
your
working
life,
out for you? Dr. Phil
that's
used
how
to
I feel.
say.
Yep. How's that working out for you? And you know what? I realize like sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? Most times. And so sometimes it's important to ask people around you, hey, like, what are my blind spots? Like, where do I need help? You know what I mean? And then and sometimes you want to improve those areas and sometimes you don't care to improve those areas. But like if it's affecting your health and it's affecting your finances and it's affecting your family and your lineage and the generation, like your children and your grandchildren, hey, you might want to take a look at up leveling those things, right? But you can reset it. You don't have to live in that. You hear people say, well, it's because I was raised in an abusive alcoholic home. Well, so was I. And so that doesn't have to define who you are. But what happens is subconsciously we let it because that's the neural patterns. The entire body, our entire lives are functioning from these neural patterns, good or bad.
Right.
And so my thing is if you have a lot of good stuff, like for me, I innately exercise every day. I started at age 14. You can catch me at the gym every single morning. You don't have to convince me. You don't have to talk me into it. I'm there. Like, it's just how I work out. It's just what I do. It's not hard. I don't think, oh, I got to go to the gym today. I hit my feet on the ground and I say, thank you, Jesus. And I literally put my clothes on and run to the gym. So for me, that's a neural pattern. It's a great neural pattern. I want to hang on to that one. It's so good. So we can examine our lives and say, what are those great neural patterns that we love? That's adding definitely blessings to my life. And what are the neural patterns that absolutely need to go, right? I've got to break some of those neural patterns. And here's the truth. You can do it. You've got the power to do it. You've got the power to change your entire life with making a decision. It all starts with making the first decision, right? So you make it the first time, and then you lay down that neural pattern by repetition. And you start how the subconscious mind comes in. You visualize as you're drifting off, as you're waking up, exactly what you want. You imagine best case scenarios. We're so good at imagining worst case scenarios. Think about how many times in our life have we said, what if this happened? You know,
And I know I should change this, but then what if this happens? And what if that happens? And what if this person gets mad? And then people think I'm bad and mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of live in, and that's meditating on the problems, right? So, and the Lord told me this. The Lord told me this after, well, actually, it was kind of mid-pandemic. The Lord said to me, because I was getting bitter and angry because of all the scandalous things that were going on. And I could find myself getting angry. I was an angry elf. I was like, and I thought one day I was praying. I'm like, this is not like I can feel it in my body. Like, I don't like how I'm feeling. And literally the Holy Spirit said, focus only on solutions. Like it literally came into my spirit, focus only on solutions. We know the bad exists. We know the darkness exists. Let's not give it power by talking about it. Yeah. Let's focus only on the light. Let's joy. Let's dance. Let's smile. Let's love, right? Let's serve. Let's bless. Let's go, right? And so for me, it was just like, okay, yeah, that static frequency of that yuckiness, because it is there. Like I said to you earlier, I didn't even know the federal government still has been shut down. I don't even know. I don't watch the news, right? I was on the news and I don't watch the news. There you have it, right? It's like when she said that, like we're waiting for another crisis, I thought, oh, I know exactly what this is. But you really, once you see it, you can't unsee it. and then you just adjust your life accordingly. So through repetition, through that deep breathing and that visualization that you're doing, visualizing things are real. It's like having a vision for something before it comes to fruition. Now, because you're in that realm of possibility, and remember, you always want to feel good, because when you feel good, you attract that vision that you're holding. If you feel like hell, like let's say you're like, I'm just, you don't feel good. The first thing is that feeling of feeling good. So sometimes you see me, Meredith, I'm on social media doing patch and dance. I just get up and put on music and I start dancing like a crazy person. People are like, how do you do that? I'm like, I'm changing my state, because maybe I was having a little bit of hard things or suffering that day, or a little bit of difficult things I'm going through. But guess what I decided to do? I decided to change my state. How do I do that? I know what happens through movement. I know what happens through breathing. I know what happens to going out and grounding, which is why pretty soon I'm getting out of North Dakota, because we're about to have snow and it's hard to walk in snow for me barefoot.
Well, yeah.
So, but so by doing that over and over, and then it takes 21 days, that old saying, it takes 21 days to lay down a new habit. True story. But it takes 63 days, 3 cycles of the 21 days, taught to me by my mentor, Dr. Carolyn Leaf. Switch on your brain. She's a neuroscientist, a Christian neuroscientist. And it takes 3 cycles of 21 days, so 63 days, to not just lay down a new way of thinking, you literally are laying down a new neural pattern. So this is why people, when they start, stop.
You're like installing a mental habit.
100%. I think
You
of
don't
it
have to
like
think about it all the time. It's just default.
it becomes default, right? And I think of it like we used to have a house that had like tiles with the grout.
Yeah.
I think it's called grout. And it's like, it reminds me of the grout. So that's like a neural pattern, right? And so if that neural pattern is bad, it might take a little persistence and consistency in undoing that neural pattern to replant. It's like, you don't just stop something, you have to replant the correct neural pattern that you want. You know what I mean? I've always taught that too in fitness and nutrition. Like, you don't just take away pop. Like, we're going to replace it with something better, because you have a neural pattern of doing something at that hour. Let's give you something else to drink at that time, right? Or whatever. So you're replacing that neural pattern with something that is advantageous for you. And so that literally is over and over. But the power of the subconscious mind, so we're literally magnets. We're magnetic energy. You know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
I love it.
We're magnetic, and we're just pushing it out. And so that frequency, that magnetism that you're pushing out. When I was down in Laguna, we were walking on the beach every day. I was getting all the sunshine. I was eating all the healthy food. I mean, I was dancing. I was joyous. I was a magnet. Boom, boom. In our business, people were like joining our business at the pool, right? Like, it was like a...
Yes. Because that's the other thing. When you live from that space, people want to be in it. And if they want to be in it, they resonate with it on some level. And if they resonate with it on some level, they have the capacity to be there too. And you end up with great people.
Amazing people. But back to people staying stuck in the things. If you're stuck in your job, if you're stuck in whatever you're stuck in, you know, I mean, our marriage sucked for a while. I could talk all day about a marriage, because our marriage almost fell apart when I was 25. I mean, Scott was on his way out, right? And so it was a very, very, very trying time. But here we are 25 years later, right? And somebody says, that's a big ring. I said, yeah, it's a big ring. 25 years later. A big ring. Now, give me a big ring.
We need a carrot for every decade, okay?
That's right. That's right. But the point is, we didn't want to just stay in that disgruntled marriage. You have to choose to make it better. You can't just stay in that disgruntled health state. You've got to choose to you've got to say yes. You've got to say yes and start moving in the right direction to do the things that are going to bring joy to your spirit, that are going to bring energy to your life. Because if you're always operating from that halfway static, that is why you're not attracting anything good. So I said to Scott, like, Laguna was a magnet for our family. Like, it was the whole experience was magnetic. I mean, I'm at this event. We're at the pool. Get this. We're at the pool. We're in LifeWave. We have our business LifeWave. We're at the pool, and this guy sits down. He's got a patch on already. He sits down next to my son, Bo, and he starts talking, and he goes, oh my gosh. He said, Bo said, oh, you're wearing a LifeWave patch. He goes, oh yeah, I've been wearing it for a year. He goes, I've been trying to figure out a way. He says, you know, I have a wellness group with about 2,000 people that I'm trying to introduce the patch to these 2,000 people, because I run the group. And I just don't know how to say it or word it. And then Bo goes, well, you should go back to the people who sponsored you. And he goes, do you know who your sponsor is? And he says the name, and Bo goes, you're on our team. on our team. And so this gentleman, Curtis, his name is there for Convoy of Hope conference at this amazing hotel that we're at. And he says, "Oh my gosh, can you come down?"
You're a
You know,
force of nature, Renita.
no, I'm
Truly.
like,
Like
this is crazy. This is
an amazing.
on the airplane. A lady has Parkinson's. I can see it. She's walking down the aisle. Her husband is helping her. I take out a napkin as fast as you can say go. And I write, I want to help you. My mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's 11 years ago. This phototherapy technology absolutely changed her life. I want to visit with you about this. I just I wrote 2 sides of a napkin. The napkin from Delta was full of me. I'm praying for you. God bless Renita. I put my business card in 2 patches. When he walked back, because he was helping his wife not to fall, my husband handed it to him and he grabbed it like this with the patches. He said, "Thank you so much." You just go. You just say yes. You just do. When the Holy Spirit prompts you to say something, you just do it. You don't hesitate. Just do it. And then and I just kind of live in that space. It's just like super authentic all the time. Like,
Yes.
and sometimes some people think like my kids are like, "Mom, mom, mom." I'm like, we're going to be good. Like, because I think that when you're living from that authenticity and that energy and that frequency and that belief, you are going to be in alignment with the goodness of God, the glory realm. And you are going to be, I always just say I'm an advocate for the kingdom of heaven on earth. I mean, I want to make this thing look
Love
good because
that.
it is. It is, it's great. And so anyway, so that guy, I haven't looked at my back office say, but I'm sure he signed up. I mean, he was almost in tears when we handed him that check. Like that guy was, praying for a solution for his wife. And
Yeah.
so again, just being in that energetic space of your power. It's hard for you to do anything if you don't feel good. You got to feel good now. That's the secret. So that's the secret. But then it's applying that power, that subconscious mind. Like, what do I need to reprogram? What can I keep that's elevating my level, elevating my life, and is making my life better? What can I get rid of, right? That's not making my life better. And then then it's up to you to do the work. You still have to do the work. Like it's still Jesus saying, "Get up. Do you want to be well?"
That
He said,
motion, that forward momentum. Even if it's like mistakes and why did I do that and how this happened, it's like it's still motion. And it's easier to course correct than to fight inertia, I have
yeah,
found.
well,
Anyway.
it's easier to drive it's hard to drive a parked car.
Yeah,
When they're in motion, we can at least turn that.
I totally hear you. Like when we're in the flow, especially the flow with joy, these synchronicities happen and people pop up and it's like, oh, wait, what? What?
Yeah, and
It's
it's not
just
even it's like
incredible.
we're actually attracting them.
We're pulling
So
them
I
in.
do believe that
Right.
we're sending out a frequency. And it is
Yes.
magnetic, or it is a
Yes.
repellent. Maybe for some people it's a repellent if it's a
Yeah,
negative
which
frequency.
is great.
Yeah.
Go
And this is why I even think in the realm of politics, it's so dark. Politics is
Yeah,
very dark. And I'm
very.
not saying that there's not maybe some good things happening right now, and there's obviously not good things happening, but it's very dark. So we have to be very careful what we give our ear and our eyes to, because again,
Mhm.
those portals are opening. So
Yes.
whatever you're opening the portal to is what's going to be coming in. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I mean, it was literally like for years, I would have clients that their blood pressure would go up and up and up. And I found out they were watching the nightly news. And I said, "Stop watching the news for like 6 weeks. And let's see what happens to your blood pressure." And surprise, surprise, it'd go back
Surprise,
to normal.
surprise.
I'm like, listen, your eyes are literally a gate. They're a gate.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be so careful what you lend your eyes and your ears to, and your heart too, right? Because these eyes and ears are connected to our heart. And so we've got to be so careful how that all is coming together, because, and here the real goal is the superpower alignment, like the superpower alignment of like that glory realm where there's just fantastic alignment. Like you said, in joy, because in joy, there's strength, right? When you're joyous, you feel stronger versus when you're angry and depressed, you feel weak, right? You want to sleep. And so like, it's like when that is like, then as soon as you get there, then it goes, and then it pushes out this frequency. And then anybody who's like functioning on that frequency just goes whoosh. Like they just are pulled into it. That's my visual I have right now. Like where
Yes.
they're coming
Yes.
into that. And so like that's why it's so important that you're pushing out and saying and doing and even not only with yourself, with others. Because I've realized, be careful, don't talk negative about people. Be careful
Mhm.
with that. You are throwing out a frequency when you're talking negative.
Yeah.
And like I read this book, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, And this gentleman said, when you complain, you become a walking, talking crap magnet. That's what he said in the book. He said it in the book. When you
Yeah.
complain, you become a walking, talking crap magnet. And that's always stuck with me because I thought, and I never could quantify it until now. I'm like, oh, yeah, because when they complain, they don't feel good. They're not in a feel good state.
Yeah.
They're in a staticky
Yeah.
state.
You're dropping down.
Yeah, you're on that frequency scale, like power
Yeah.
versus force, right? And so it's all of that. I don't even know, like, kind of what we're supposed to talk about today, but like, I'm just like,
No, we covered all the things. I love I've wanted to have this kind of conversation for a long time. And yes, covered everything beautifully. So, okay. So let's circle back because you did bring up learning about the brain for Parkinson's for your mom. So
yeah,
let's do that story. We'll wrap up on the story of your mom, which
yeah,
is just so incredible. And you did
yeah.
say you learned a lot about the brain and then I think interrupted and people are going to leave comments being like, you didn't let her finish about the brain.
Yeah. So,
So
okay.
let's circle back and we'll do that.
So my mom always in the hunt of solutions, right? This is me.
Yeah.
I'm like a solution seeker. And that's the energy I'm putting out. And so my mom, about 11 years ago, was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And so, of course, we took her to Mayo Clinic. It was diagnosed, audios, like they're for neurodegenerative diseases, it's not good. The medical system doesn't have solutions. And again, we just know that those medications that they are taking in are making their frequency staticky, right? So then it's like they get sicker over time. And about 3 years ago, a friend of mine from Canada who's a nurse, who's a Christian nurse who wrote an amazing book on frequency. Her name is Doris. She literally called me up one day and she said, Renita, she said, you've got to try this patch on your mom. She said, I know she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And by the way, notice how I'm saying that. My mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Yes. Not that she is it or has
Yeah,
it.
you never own that. If you're listening to this, never own the disease. Don't coddle like a baby. Like, stop that. Like my doctor diagnosed me with. That's fine, but to have a diagnosis, but don't become that. That's not who you are. You are a child of God. You are a light warrior. You have got the power, baby. Take it back now. And so be careful with that. So she was diagnosed with the Parkinson's. And so she calls me up, says, you got to try this. You got to try this patch. And I said, Doris, what is it? She goes, I'm just going to tell you, my neighbor lady with Parkinson's, she said, we saw downright miracles. That's all I can say. She said, downright miracles. And I said, you had me at miracles. I said, because I'm a believer and I believe in the realm of miracles. I believe that. I live it, Meredith. So I believe it. It happens all the time in my life. It's miracle. I'm Miracle City over here. And so I'm like, okay, yeah. And so she said, I'm going to send you a couple. Just put them on your mom. So my mom starts wearing this patch. Here, I have it right here. This patch, X39. She starts wearing this patch. At the time, I did not know it was X39 because she sent the patches in a little plastic Ziploc bag. Okay? So I had no working knowledge of what it was. I didn't know the name.
A bag of stickers.
Stickers, right? And here's the truth.
Okay.
I just trust. Doris is such great frequency.
You're like,
I just trust Doris. You know how there's certain people when you get around them, you just are like, I just trust this person. Like, she's the wise old owl. So I just trusted her. And so she literally sent it. I said, Mom, here's the baggie that Doris sent. Put some on you. And so my mom starts wearing the patches. And again, I don't know how I'm supposed to wear them. She never really sent any information about like what we're supposed to do with these. So
just
I don't know.
A Ziploc bag of stickers.
Pretty much. And so we're German over here. German. My mom's German. And so conservative financially. You're supposed to wear these things like 12 hours on, 12 hours off. I mean, my mom's putting it on wherever she can reach. And she's just probably wearing it until it's floating in the bathtub type deal. We're probably getting days out of one batch. I don't know. You knowing what I know now, it's like, yeah, you want to change these things and, take them off for 12 hours, give the body that set time to reset and then put a fresh patch on every day. But mom wasn't doing that. But here it was on the 11th day of wearing the patch. My husband and I go over to the house and ding dong, 8 a.m. Usually at 8 a.m., her with the Parkinson's, very difficult. Can't walk, using the walker, very moody. Dopamine hasn't kicked in yet, just it's a lot. Her penmanship had gone away. Her bone density had gone away. She had gone from 169 pounds down to 97 pounds. Her teeth were literally crumbling out of her mouth. It was just crazy. She owned a restaurant for 25 years. We took away butter knives because she would be so much trimmer that it was just a hazard. And it was rough. And so that morning on the 11th day, we opened the front door and my mom was walking with her black and white polka dot pajamas across the kitchen, just normally. No walker. And she looks over at me and she goes, hey, Nita. She called me Nita. Hey, Nita, do you want me to make you some eggs? And I was like, "Yeah, I do want you to make me some eggs." She's walking to the kitchen like she's just like she's gonna go cook me some eggs. My dad had cooked breakfast every morning for the last 2.5 years leading up to this moment.
Because she couldn't do
She
it.
could not cook. She could not cook. I mean, she would burn. I mean, it was awful. Like she burned
And
stuff.
she needed the walker, and now she's just, like, walking
No, she's
around.
walking normally. Yeah. And I was like in shock a little bit. I was actually in shock looking at her. And I looked at my dad. He was sitting at the kitchen table. I said, "Are you seeing this?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "What is going on over here?" He's like, I'm not sure." I said, "Hey, Mom, where's the walker?" She said, "I don't know. I think it's in the bedroom." I said, "Hey," I said, "You didn't need it today." She goes, "Nope." I said, "You needed it every day for the last 2.5 years." She looks at me and she goes, "Well, I didn't need it today." And she proceeded to make us eggs, served us breakfast, like normal. My mother now, and I can't tell you that it treats, cures, or prevents any disease. I can't tell you that she's healed of Parkinson's, but I can tell you that her symptoms are 80% better. And I can tell you that she's got zero tremor in her hands. Her penmanship came back. Her voice came back. Her bone density came back in her mouth. She went from 97 pounds. She now weighs about 123. We call her Rocky. She does boxing. We bought her a boxing bag recently. It's like unbelievable. The woman was like death's door before, and now she is a whole new woman. So that was on day 11 with the patch, but that was not really what got me all in. What got me all in, Meredith, was my dad. So he was sitting at the kitchen table that morning. He had been dealing with these oozing, goozing legs. I am relentless at finding solutions. So we had taken him to 11 different types of doctors in 6 months. So typical Mayo Clinic, University of Minnesota. No one had a solution for these oozing, goozing legs. They were literally triple the size and dripping, like nonstop dripping. He carried around a rag with witch hazel, no joke. And so
'Cause his leg was, like, leaking fluid.
leaking fluid, like that's exactly what it was, like nonstop crying legs and
Okay.
triple the size. And we had taken him everywhere because eventually I said, "Dan, heck with the medical establishment." I said, "Let's take you to the homeopaths, the naturopaths, and the elderly. They have a neural pattern of
Mhm.
watching pharmaceutical ads to think I got to go to my doctor." So we did that. And when that failed him, now he's like, "Okay, what else can we do?" He was open.
Yeah.
Both my parents are very open to alternative. Thank God, because if not, my life would be a lot harder. Anyway, and so I said, "Dad, can we try one of those patches on you?" And he looked at me and he said, "I had no idea the patch was for this." He said, "I thought it was for Parkinson's." I said, "I don't know what it's for." I said, "I don't even know what it's for."
Yeah, who
I said,
knows? I
I
have
said,
this
"I don't
little baggie of stickers. Let's
I
see what
have no idea." I said, I don't know." I said, "Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't," but I said, it's worth a shot." And he said, "You know what? It is worth a shot." And so I said, "Where are they?" He said, "Your mother's bathroom, I think." So I went to the bathroom, got the patch, I came back. I didn't know where to put it. I didn't know nothing about it. I just trusted Doris. And we just threw it on my dad's shoulder. And the next morning when we came back, when I opened the front door, I looked down on my dad's legs. His little tiny, he was a Marine. So is a Marine, once a Marine, I was a Marine. His little tiny chicken legs were back. And all of the oozing were scabs. They all had dried up. It was the first time in 6 months his
Wow.
legs were scabbed. Like I was thankful, right? Because they were skinny
Yeah.
and scabbed. And he looked at me, he goes, "It looks like that little sticker you gave me worked. Where can I get some more stickers?" And I am over here thinking, I have ran you to freaking Timbuktu and back.
We've been to every medical clinic in the
Serious.
region,
19 hours to
and
Mayo.
Doris's little stickers.
Like, what is going on here? So at that moment, I mean, I didn't even know how it was working, to be quite, I didn't know it was phototherapy. Of course, God is going to lead me in the direction of light because he knows I've been obsessed with light my entire life. Right. And so I didn't know at the time it was phototherapy. I looked at my husband, actually. I said, "What is that patch leaching into their bodies?" I thought it was leaching something. Right. And then I realized once you learn about the patch, it's leaching nothing. Right? It's just reflecting your body's own light. That's all it's doing. We all emit that infrared light already. It's on all of us. The light goes out when you're dead. Well, if you're not dead, you should be wearing a patch because that light is going to be harnessed by that patch and reflected back into the body. And then it activates certain different healing mechanisms. Peptides are activated, antioxidants are activated, right? And so in the case of that X39, it activates the GHK copper peptide. And that peptide is literally known as the holy grail of anti-aging, right? So it's
Yes. My
primary.
emails and my feed are filled with supplements that you have to inject to create or to make those peptides. Yeah. And these ones do it with light.
It does it with light, and it's non-invasive. It's affordable. Anybody can use it, even an 80-year-old Marine, right? We got kids using them. We got everybody using them. We got athletes using them. So that's literally how the phototherapy business began, was a life experience. Of course, God again, he's like, kid, I always say God knows that I'm somewhat ADHD, OCD, kind of like the rock band. So I said to my husband, he has to make it so like this that I cannot deny it, right? Like I could not deny what happened to mom and dad. There would be no, like, I couldn't say, well, I wonder
Well,
if you,
maybe it was something else.
no,
No,
no, no. I
no.
know exactly what supplements they're taking. I know exactly their meds. My dad was able to get off of 5 medications in 5 weeks that they told me he was never going to get off. And so that's a whole nother story.
Stop
But the
it.
feeling is, it was just like the doctors was
Yeah.
amazed.
Yeah.
They were just all amazed. And so we know we have our hands on something tremendous. And again, it's what makes it so cool is that, again, we're the pioneers. Meredith, this is you. We're the pioneers of light, because people have been biochemically trained to have a biological response. Even with nutrition, that's a biochemical, creating a biological response in the body. We've not been trained bioelectrically, right? We've just not been trained in that realm. And of
Yeah.
course, that's what your sweet spot is. And so just to educate people, hey, light is the foundation for it all. And you can eat just perfectly and you can take just the right supplements. But if you don't have that light right, nothing is getting better. And so for me, it's like the on switch for the body. And it's the easiest on switch we have. It's easier than my workouts in the morning.
Yes. I might have to like borrow a little of your workout energy, Renita. That was never
Yeah,
one of my neural pathways, that's for sure.
I did Maha 100. And of course, Facebook, they're so kind. They took all my workouts down because I called them Maha 1, Maha 2, Maha 3, Maha 4. I recorded 100 workouts on Facebook just because I wanted to. And then Maha took them all down, or Facebook took it all down. And I thought, I can do 100 more.
You're like, okay, really? You want new workouts with new hashtags? You got it. Of course you did. Oh my God, Renita, truly you are a force of nature. And I just had like such an amazing time here. And I loved talking about the frequency, the power of the subconscious mind, how we are magnet, like, yes. And I really feel like these patches, I mean, the people I'm with have gone so deep on the science of this. You have no idea. Like, they're just like digging in. And I'm like, okay, I just feel like this is restoring our biology to be able to do what it's supposed to do. Like, we have so much power in these physical vehicles that we haven't even tapped into. And this is just like a little transit signal.
Yeah. No, I mean,
to get us there.
It literally is, like I said, it's an on switch. It up levels your energy. My husband's lost 95 pounds, and it's not because of the patch. Like, it's not like a weight loss cure. But what happened was he was having so much chronic inflammation from 7 knee surgeries, from college athletics. And when he didn't have the energy to move, everything hurt. He was so chronically inflamed all the time, wasn't sleeping well and all that. And now 3 years later, he's down 95 pounds. And part of it was how the patch helped him in that journey is all of a sudden he put that on and his body wasn't ridden with feeling like the Tin Man every day.
Yes.
Right? Like, he had the energy and the ability to move. And the more he moved, the better he felt. And so it was pretty interesting how that single-handedly changed the game for Scott, because we had tried a lot of other things, right? I'm a nutrition and health coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was coming in there and just boom, activating that GHK copper peptide, which is the precursor to collagen. People that don't know that, I mean, collagen is the most abundant protein in the body. And people take it, like you said, orally, and they take this peptide, inject it. And here we get all of the benefits of the collagen, of the GHK copper peptide, with the patch, with phototherapy, with light.
The patch, with our body's own light.
Yeah.
And a little bit of nanocrystal.
Let's go. And I always say you want them to be nano because you want them to be small. Because imagine if this patch was not the size of a quarter. If it was as big as a tarp, then we'd have to wrap ourselves in this patch and run pipes all day.
Yeah. Which, I mean, for the effects that we get from it, we would probably do, but hey, we don't have to.
Yeah, it's true. I'm like, but you can put it on, go to yoga, put it on, walk the dog, put it on, go get groceries, whatever, So it's awesome.
Yeah,
Meredith,
it's so good.
You're a blessing,
you too, Renita. Thank you so much. I feel so grateful to have met you and have your energy in my life is truly, really special. And
Oh, I
thanks for
love
coming
you.
on here. I know you're super busy. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's been a blessing.
And
The Power
yeah.
of the Subconscious Mind. Now I want your feedback because,
Okay.
remember, this book, it's so little. You can read it like in a couple hours. I've read it 14 times. And so I just keep reading it because, again, the repetition for the developing mind, right?
Yes.
I want these great neural patterns because why not? I
Okay.
love and appreciate you. I
You
pray you all get
too.
lit and stand in your superpower, baby, because you all have it. Let's go. Let's go.
Woohoo! Superpower.
Yes. Right, baby. Let's go.
This has been the Quantum Biology Collective podcast. To find a practitioner who practices from this point of view, visit our directory at quantumbiologycollective.org. If you are a practitioner, definitely take a look at the Applied Quantum Biology Certification, a 6-week study of the science of the new human health paradigm and its practical application with your patients and clients. We also love to feature graduates of the program on this very podcast. Until next time, the QBC.